Commander Veltar ran down the burning hallway of his command ship. The metal walls around him were hot and twisted from enemy fire. Smoke filled the air, making it hard to breathe. His people were dying, and he knew they had very little time left. The Korthic Empire had come to destroy them. Their black ships filled the sky above New Haven, the peaceful colony his people had built over many years. The Korthics were brutal warriors who took what they wanted and killed anyone who stood in their way. They had already destroyed 12 other star systems, and now they wanted his. Veltar reached the communication room, where his best officers waited. Their blue skin was pale with fear, and their large eyes showed the terror they all felt. The Zephyrians were not warriors. They were scientists, artists, and builders. They had never learned to fight because they had never needed to. "Sir, our defense ships are gone," said Officer Nexali, her voice shaking. "The Korthics destroyed them in less than an hour. We have nothing left to stop them." Veltar looked at the screen, showing the battle above their world. The few remaining Zephyrian ships were trying to run away, but the Korthak fighters were hunting them down one by one. It was not a battle anymore. It was a slaughter. "How long until they reach the surface?" Veltar asked. 6 hours, maybe less," Nexali replied. "Their ground forces are already loading into attack ships." Veltar closed his eyes for a moment. In 6 hours, everything his people had built would be gone. The Korthics would kill the fighters and take the rest as slaves. The children, the old ones, the artists who created beautiful things, all would suffer under Korthic rule. But then he remembered something. 3 months ago, near deep space, sensors had picked up strange signals from a distant part of the galaxy. The signals came from a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. The beings there called themselves humans, and they seemed to be trying to contact other intelligent life. "Nexali, do we still have the long-range transmitter?" Veltar asked. "Yes, sir. But why do you need it?" "There is no one close enough to help us." Veltar walked to the communication console and began typing commands. "There might be someone. Those humans we detected 3 months ago. They are far away, but maybe they will listen." Nexali looked confused. "Sir, we know nothing about these humans. They could be as dangerous as the Korthics. What if they are also warriors who want to conquer us?" "Then we will be conquered either way," Veltar said. "But maybe, just maybe, they are different. Maybe they will help." He began recording his message, speaking in the universal trade language that most spacefaring species understood. He hoped these humans had learned it too. "This is Commander Veltar of the Zephyrian Republic, calling any human ships or stations. We are under attack by the Korthak Empire. Our world is about to fall, and our people will be killed or enslaved. We have no weapons strong enough to fight them. Please, if you can hear this, we need help. We offer friendship and alliance to any who will aid us in this dark hour." He attached star charts showing the location of his system, tactical information about the Korthic forces, and everything he knew about human technology from their intercepted signals. Then he sent the message racing across space at faster-than-light speed not far away. On a space station orbiting Earth, Lieutenant Jake Morrison was having a boring night shift. He sat in front of dozens of screens, listening for signals from deep space. Most nights, he heard nothing but static and the background noise of the universe. But tonight was different. A strange signal came through the receivers, and Jake sat up straight in his chair. The signal was strong and clear, and it was definitely from an intelligent source. But it was not from any human ship or station. "Holy cow," Jake whispered as he realized what he was hearing. "This is it. This is actual alien contact." He quickly recorded the signal and called his supervisor. Within minutes, Dr. Lisa Carter arrived at the station. She was Earth's best expert on alien languages, though she had never actually heard one before tonight. Lisa listened to the recording 3 times, her heart beating fast with excitement and fear. Jake, this is incredible. This is a real distress. Call from another species. They are asking for help. Can you understand what they are saying? Jake asked. Some of it. They are using the universal trade language that we theorized aliens might use. Give me a few hours, and I can translate most of it. While Lisa worked on the translation, Jake contacted Admiral Frank Sullivan at Earth's military headquarters. The Admiral was not happy about being woken up at 3 in the morning, but his mood changed quickly when Jake explained what they had found. You are absolutely sure this is not a joke or a test? Admiral Sullivan asked. Sir, I stake my career on it. This is the real thing. We have contact with aliens, and they are in trouble. Admiral Sullivan was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Keep working on that translation. I am calling an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. If these aliens are really asking for help, we need to decide what Earth is going to do about it. 2 hours later, Dr. Carter had finished her translation. The message was clear and desperate. An entire alien civilization was about to be destroyed by an enemy they could not fight. They were calling across the galaxy for anyone who might help them. Admiral Sullivan read the translation in the emergency meeting room, surrounded by Earth's top military and political leaders. The room was silent as everyone realized the magnitude of what they were facing. Captain Ryan Blake of the UTS Vengeance spoke first. Sir, we have to help them. This is everything we have been preparing for. Our first contact with aliens, and they need our protection. We know nothing about these beings, said General Patricia Wells. They could be lying. This could be a trap to lure our ships away from Earth. Or they could be exactly what they seem, Captain Blake replied. Peaceful. People who are about to be wiped out by space bullies. If we do nothing, we will have to live with that choice forever. Admiral Sullivan looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. These were people who had spent their lives preparing for the day when humanity would meet other intelligent life. None of them had imagined it would happen like this. The aliens are offering alliance and friendship in exchange for help, Admiral Sullivan said. They have included their technology data and star charts. If we save them, we gain allies and access to their knowledge. If we do nothing, they die, and we lose the chance to make our first alien friends. The vote was close, but in the end, humanity chose to answer the call. Captain Blake would lead a task force to the alien system, carrying Earth's most advanced ships and finest crews into the unknown dot as the meeting ended and preparations began. No one knew that they were about to introduce the galaxy to something it had never seen before. Warriors from a death world, coming to the aid of those who could not defend themselves. On New Haven, scientist Zareth worked frantically in his research lab while explosions shook the building around him. The Korthic attack had intensified, but he had something important to finish. Commander Veltar had asked him to learn everything possible about the humans who might come to help them. Zareth had intercepted many human radio and television signals over the past few months. What he found made his blood run cold. These humans lived on a planet that the galactic classification system marked as uninhabitable, a Class 12 death world. He pulled up the data on his screen and could hardly believe what he was reading. Earth had gravity that was twice as strong as most inhabited worlds. The atmospheric pressure would crush the lungs of most species. The planet was constantly bombarded by deadly radiation from its star. Violent storms, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions happened regularly. But the worst part was the life forms. Earth was covered with creatures that would be considered monstrous on any civilized world. The humans shared their planet with massive predators that could tear apart a Zephyrian with ease. Poisonous snakes, giant bears, sharks with rows of razor teeth Earth was a nightmare world where only the strongest could survive. "By the stars," Zareth whispered. "What have we done?" "We asked for help from apex predators." He continued reading about human biology and became even more frightened. Humans were built like living weapons. Their bones were dense and strong. Their muscles could generate incredible force. They had forward-facing eyes like hunters, and their teeth showed they ate both plants and meat. Most terrifying of all, they could function with massive amounts of adrenaline in their systems, allowing them to perform superhuman feats when threatened. The research showed that humans could survive injuries that would kill other species. They could function in environments that would be instantly lethal to Zephyrians. They could go without food for weeks, without water for days, and without sleep for incredible periods of time. Zareth sent his findings to Commander Veltar, who was hiding in the underground command bunker. When Veltar read the report, he sat down heavily in his chair. "Officer Nexale," he called. "Come look at this." Nexale read the report, and her skin turned even paler than usual. "Sir, according to this data, humans are the most dangerous species in the known galaxy. They are living weapons that evolved on a world that tries to kill everything on it every single day." "I know," Veltar said quietly, "but they are the only ones who answered our call for help." Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain Ryan Blake stood on the bridge of the UTS Vengeance, watching his crew prepare for their first journey to another star system. The ship was one of Earth's newest and most powerful vessels, built for long-range exploration and combat. His tactical officer, Commander Steve Parker, was reviewing the alien data they had received. "Captain, these Corthics have some impressive firepower, but their tactics seem pretty basic. They rely on overwhelming force and intimidation." "What about our new alien friends?" Blake asked. "The Zephyrians appear to be completely peaceful, sir. No military experience at all. They are scientists and artists who never learned to fight. That is probably why they are losing so badly." In the ship's medical bay, Dr. Helen Martinez was preparing for the possibility of treating alien injuries. She had no idea what Zephyrian biology would be like, but she was ready to learn. Her medical team had studied the limited biological data the aliens had sent, trying to understand how their bodies worked. Down in the Marine quarters, Colonel Amy Foster was training her troops for combat in unknown conditions. The Marines were excited about the possibility of fighting alien enemies, but they were also nervous about operating in completely unfamiliar environments. "Listen up, people," Foster told her assembled Marines. "We do not know what we are going to face out there. The enemy could have weapons we have never seen before. The environment could be hostile to human life. But we are Marines, and Marines adapt." Sergeant Tony Martinez raised his hand. "Ma'am, what if the aliens we are supposed to help do not trust you? What if they are afraid of us?" Foster thought about that question. It had not occurred to her that the aliens might fear their rescuers. "Then we show them that humans can be trusted. We prove that we are there to help, not to conquer." In the engineering section, Chief Paul Davis was making final modifications to the ship's weapon systems. Earth's military technology had been designed for fighting other humans, but the alien tactical data suggested that some adjustments might be needed for space combat against the Corthics. The aliens fight with energy weapons and particle beams. Davis explained to his team, "Our kinetic weapons and missiles might catch them off guard. They probably will not expect old-fashioned bullets and explosives." Back on the bridge, Blake received a communication from Admiral Sullivan on Earth. "Captain, you are authorized to proceed to the alien system. Your primary mission is to assist the Zephyrians against the Corthic attack. Secondary mission is to establish friendly relations with our first alien contact." "Understood, sir," Blake replied. "How much authority do I have to commit Earth to agreements with these aliens?" "Use your best judgment, Captain. You are representing all of humanity out there, make us proud. The UTS Vengeance began moving away from Earth, followed by two other ships, the UTS Retribution and the UTS Defiance. Together, they formed Earth's first interstellar task force, carrying 1,200 human beings into the unknown dot as the ships entered hyperspace. The crews had no idea that their journey was being monitored by long-range sensors throughout the galaxy. The Korthik Empire had detected the approaching human ships and was trying to determine what kind of threat they represented. General Korthik himself reviewed the sensor data from his flagship above, New Haven. The human ships were smaller than his heavy cruisers, and there were only 3 of them. He commanded a fleet of 27 vessels, including his massive dreadnought. An unknown species thinks they can challenge the Korthik Empire, he growled to his officers. When they arrive, we will destroy them quickly and add their technology to our collection. His tactical officer, Commander Rax H., was not so confident. Sir, we know nothing about these humans. Perhaps we should gather more intelligence before engaging them. Intelligence? Korthak laughed. I have conquered 12 star systems. No single species can stand against the might of our fleet. These humans will learn that lesson the hard way. What General Korthak did not know was that humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years. They had perfected the art of killing each other with every weapon imaginable, from simple clubs to nuclear missiles. They had learned to fight in every environment their deadly planet could produce, underwater, in the air, in frozen wastelands and burning deserts. More importantly, humans had learned to fight when everything seemed hopeless. They had a saying, "It is not the size of the dog in the fight, it is the size of the fight in the dog." The Korthiks were about to discover what that meant. On New Haven, Commander Veltar received confirmation that the human ships were on their way. He had mixed feelings about their coming. On one hand, he was grateful that someone had answered their desperate call for help. On the other hand, Zareth's research suggested that they might be trading one set of conquerors for another. How long until the humans arrive? Naxali asked. 18 hours, Veltar replied. The question is, will we still be alive when they get here? Above them, the Korthik bombardment continued. The aliens were taking their time, enjoying the destruction they were causing. They wanted the Zephyrians to suffer before the end came. But General Korthak had made a crucial mistake. By drawing out the attack, he had given the humans time to arrive. Soon, the galaxy would witness something that had never happened before. Deathworlders, coming to the rescue of those who could not defend themselves. The stage was set for a confrontation. That would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The human task force dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system, and Captain Blake immediately saw the scope of the disaster unfolding before them. The Korthik fleet was spread across the system like a dark cloud, their black. Ships firing down at the peaceful world below. My God, whispered Commander Parker from his position at the tactical station. There must be nearly 30 enemy ships down there. Blake studied the tactical display, showing the positions of all vessels in the system. The Korthik fleet was massive compared to his 3 ships, but they seemed to be focused entirely on bombarding the planet. They had not yet noticed the human arrival. Communications tried to contact the aliens who sent the distress call. Blake ordered Lieutenant Jake Morrison, who had volunteered to join the mission after detecting the original signal, worked his CONSOLEs frantically. I am getting a response, sir. It is weak, but someone is answering. The main screen flickered to life, showing the interior of what looked like an underground bunker. A tall, thin being with blue skin and large dark eyes appeared on the screen. Despite the poor video quality, Blake could see that the alien was exhausted and frightened. This is Commander Veltar of the Zephyrian Republic, the alien said, in heavily accented but understandable English. "Are you the humans who received our message?" "Yes, Commander. I am Captain Ryan Blake of the Earth vessel Vengeance. We are here to help you." Veltar's large eyes widened even further. "You actually came. I was not sure anyone would respond to our call. We do not abandon people who ask for help," Blake said simply. "What is your current situation?" "The Korthiks have destroyed our defense fleet and are bombarding our cities. We have perhaps 6 hours before they land ground troops to finish us off. Captain Blake, I must warn you, the Korthik fleet is enormous. Your 3 ships cannot possibly defeat them." Blake smiled grimly. "Commander, you would be surprised what humans can accomplish when we put our minds to it. Can you safely transport some of your people to my ship? We need to coordinate our strategy." An hour later, Commander Veltar and 2 of his officers materialized in the UTS Vengeance's transport room. The moment they appeared, all 3 aliens staggered and nearly fell down. The ship's gravity was crushing them. Dr. Helen Martinez quickly stepped forward to help them. "Easy there. Our gravity is probably stronger than what you are used to." Veltar struggled to stand upright, his legs shaking under the increased weight. "How do you function under such conditions?" He gasped. "This is normal for us," Dr. Martinez explained, helping to support the alien commander. "Let me adjust the gravity in this section of the ship." As the gravity decreased to more comfortable levels, Veltar was able to stand normally again. But he stared at the humans around him with a mixture of awe and fear. These beings moved easily under conditions that would cripple most galactic species. "Captain." Blake entered the transport room and walked directly up to Veltar. The alien commander was tall by his species standards, but Blake still towered over him. When Blake extended his hand for a handshake, Veltar hesitantly reached out his own hand. The moment their hands touched, Veltar winced in pain. Blake's grip, which he thought was gentle, felt like being squeezed by a mechanical device. The human's bones and muscles were incredibly dense and strong. "Sorry," Blake said, immediately loosening his grip. "I forgot that we might be stronger than your people." Dr. Lisa Carter, who had been brought along as the mission's alien contact specialist, stepped forward. "Commander Veltar, we have been studying the data you sent us about the Korthik forces. Can you tell us more about their tactics and weapons?" As they walked through the ship toward the briefing room, Veltar and his officers were amazed by what they saw. The humans moved with casual confidence through environments that would be deadly to most species. The atmospheric pressure was crushing, the gravity was brutal, and yet these beings treated it as perfectly normal. In the briefing room, Veltar sat down carefully in a chair that had been adjusted for his smaller frame. Around the table sat the senior officers of the human task force, and he found himself studying their faces with fascination and growing fear. These humans had the forward-facing eyes of predators. Their teeth, when they smiled, showed that they were designed to tear meat as well as chew plants. Their bodies were compact and powerful, built for violence and survival. Everything about them screamed apex predator to Veltar's scientist-trained mind. "Tell us about the Korthiks," Captain Blake said. Leaning forward slightly, Veltar fought down his instinctive fear of the human's intense stare and began to speak. "The Korthik Empire has conquered 12 star systems over the past 50 years. They are brutal warriors who believe that might makes right. Their ships are heavily armored and armed with powerful energy weapons." Commander Parker pulled up a tactical display showing the enemy fleet positions. They seemed to prefer overwhelming firepower over sophisticated tactics. Very straightforward approach. "Yes," Veltar agreed. "They simply destroy everything that opposes them. They have never encountered an enemy they could not defeat through sheer force." Lieutenant Morrison, who was operating the communications equipment, suddenly spoke up. "Captain, I am receiving a transmission from the Korthik flagship. They want to talk. The main screen activated, showing the bridge of a massive alien warship. The being who appeared was clearly the enemy commander, a large, heavily muscled creature with gray skin, sharp teeth, and small red eyes. This was General Korthik himself. I am General Korthak of the Imperial Fleet, the alien snarled. You are trespassing in territory claimed by the Korthik Empire. Identify yourselves immediately. Captain Blake stood up slowly, his full height and presence filling the screen. When he spoke, his voice was calm, but carried an undertone of steel that made even his own crew pay attention. I am Captain Ryan Blake of the Earth vessel Vengeance. We are here in response to a distress call from the Zephyrians. We demand that you cease your attack immediately and withdraw from this system. General Korthak stared at the human for a moment, then began laughing, a harsh barking sound. You demand? You have 3 small ships against my fleet of 27 vessels. What makes you think you can give me orders? Because, Blake replied quietly, humans do not like bullies. The Korthik general's laughter stopped abruptly. There was something in the human's tone that suggested this was not an empty threat. What species are you? I have never heard of these humans before. We are from Earth, Blake said, and you are about to learn why that matters. Korthak consulted his tactical officers off-screen, then turned back to Blake. My sensors show that your ships are small and your weapons are primitive. You use kinetic projectiles instead of energy weapons. Surrender now, and I will allow you to live as slaves. Blake's expression did not change, but everyone in the briefing room could feel the temperature drop. General, you have exactly 1 hour to begin withdrawing your forces from this system. If you do not, we will remove you by force. You threaten me? Korthak roared. I will crush your pathetic ships and add your skulls to my trophy collection. The transmission ended, and the briefing room was silent for a moment. Then Veltar spoke, his voice filled with despair. Captain Blake, I am grateful for your courage, but you cannot defeat that fleet with only 3 ships. Perhaps you should leave while you still can. At least our message reached someone who cared enough to try. Blake turned to the alien commander, and Veltar saw something in the human's eyes that he had never seen before, the look of a predator that had found prey. Commander Veltar, Blake said calmly, you invited us here to help you deal with bullies. On Earth, we have a lot of experience with bullies. The thing about bullies is that they usually fold the moment someone stands up to them. Colonel Foster, who had been quiet during the exchange, spoke up. Sir, my Marines are ready for boarding actions. We have been studying the Korthik ship designs, and we think we can crack them open. Chief Davis added, Captain, I have been analyzing their energy. Weapons. Our armor should be able to handle their firepower, at least for a while. And they will not be expecting our kinetic weapons. Blake nodded to his officers, then turned back to Veltar. Commander, you are about to see what happens when someone threatens people under human protection. Your people called for help, and humans answered. Now we are going to remind the galaxy why Earth is classified as a death world. As the human officers began planning their attack, Veltar realized that he had made a terrible miscalculation. He had thought his people were calling for rescue from peaceful explorers. Instead, they had summoned apex predators from a nightmare world, predators who were about to defend Zephyrians with the same fierce determination they used to survive. On their deadly planet, the Korthiks had no idea what was coming for them. The hour deadline passed without any sign of Korthik withdrawal. General Korthik had clearly decided that 3 human ships posed no real threat to his massive fleet. He was about to learn how wrong he was. Captain Blake stood on the bridge of the UTS Vengeance, watching his tactical display as the enemy fleet maintained its bombardment positions around New Haven The Korthiks had arranged their ships in a standard defensive formation, which told Blake everything he needed to know about their tactical thinking. "They fight like we did 100 years ago," Commander Parker observed. "Line up the biggest ships and blast away until someone surrenders." "Which means they will not be ready for modern human tactics," Blake replied. "Colonel Foster, are your Marines ready?" The Marine commander's voice came over the communication system from the launch bay. "Sir, we have 3 boarding parties loaded and ready to go. Sergeant Martinez is leading the assault on their flagship." Blake turned to his helm officer. "Take US in. Maximum acceleration." The 3 human ships suddenly burst into motion, accelerating at rates that would have killed most alien crews. The humans, bred on a high-gravity world, barely felt the crushing forces as their ships raced toward the enemy fleet. On the Korthik flagship, Tactical Officer Raxith watched the human approach with growing concern. "Sir, they are moving incredibly fast. Their acceleration rate is impossible." General Korthak glanced at the display and snorted. "They are trying to ram us. Pathetic. All ships, concentrate fire on the lead vessel." 27 Korthik ships opened fire simultaneously, filling space with energy beams and plasma bolts. But the human ships were not where the targeting computers expected them to be. Captain Blake had ordered evasive maneuvers that pushed his ships through acceleration patterns that would have turned alien crews into paste. The UTS Vengeance twisted and rolled through the enemy fire like a dancer, its human crew functioning normally under G-forces that would have been lethal to most species. Behind it, the Retribution and Defiance followed equally impossible flight paths. "Impossible," Raxith exclaimed. "No living beings can survive those maneuvers." But the humans were not only surviving, they were returning fire. Earth's kinetic weapons, considered primitive by galactic standards, punched through Korthak shields that were designed to stop energy beams. Solid projectiles moving at incredible speeds tore through alien hulls like paper. The first Korthik cruiser to die was struck by a spread of missiles from the UTS Defiance. The aliens had never developed defenses against old-fashioned explosives, and the ship disintegrated in a spectacular fireball. "What kind of weapons are those?" General Korthak demanded. "Chemical explosives, sir," Rax H. reported in a shaking voice. "Primitive by our standards, but our shields do not stop solid matter effectively." Before the general could respond, new alarms began sounding throughout his ship. "Sir, we have multiple hull breaches. Something has penetrated our armor." Those somethings were human boarding pods, small, heavily armored vehicles carrying teams of Marines. The pods had been launched during the first attack run, using the chaos of battle to slip past Korthik defenses. Sergeant Tony Martinez led the assault team that struck the flagship. The moment his pod breached the hull, he and his Marines poured into the alien ship wearing full combat armor and carrying weapons that had been perfected through centuries of human warfare. The Korthaks, who tried to stop them, were shocked by what they faced. The humans moved with deadly precision through the ship's corridors, functioning perfectly in the damaged sections where atmosphere had been lost. When Korthik warriors tried to fight them hand-to-hand, they discovered that humans were much stronger and faster than their size suggested. "They do not stop," a Korthik soldier screamed into his communicator. "I shot one 3 times, and he just kept coming." Martinez's team fought their way toward the ship's bridge, leaving a trail of unconscious or wounded Korthiks behind them. The aliens had expected to face enemies similar to themselves, but humans were unlike anything in their experience. Meanwhile, in space, the battle was turning into a nightmare for the Korthik fleet. The human ships continued their impossible maneuvers, striking from unexpected angles and disappearing before return fire could find them. Commander Parker, aboard the UTS Retribution, led a fighter squadron in an attack on the enemy's supply ships. His pilots pushed their craft through maneuvers that defied belief, diving through the spaces between larger ships and striking targets with surgical precision. "Blue Leader, you are pulling 8 Gs, his wingman called over the radio. "Ease. Off before you black out." 8 Gs is nothing," Parker replied calmly. "Back home, we call this a gentle turn." The Korthic fighters that tried to intercept them could not match human piloting skills. The aliens had to slow down or die from the acceleration forces, but the humans simply pushed harder and fought better under conditions that would have killed their enemies. On the flagship bridge, General Korthak was beginning to understand that he faced something completely outside his experience. His ships were being systematically destroyed by an enemy that should have been helpless against his superior numbers. "Sir, the humans have taken engineering on Deck 7. An officer reported. "They are moving toward the bridge." "How many of them are there?" Korthak demanded. "Only 12, sir, but they are cutting through our security forces like they are not even there." The general grabbed his personal weapon and prepared to make a last stand. But before he could leave the bridge, the blast doors exploded inward, and Sergeant Martinez stepped through the smoke. The human Marine was a terrifying sight to Korthic eyes. His armor was scarred from battle, his weapon was ready to fire, and his eyes showed the cold determination of a predator that had cornered its prey. "General Korthak," Martinez said in perfect Korthic language, "you are under arrest for war crimes against the Zephyrian people." The general raised his weapon to fire, but Martinez moved faster than any Korthic could follow. One moment the alien was holding a gun, the next moment he was flat on the deck with a human boot on his chest. "I surrender," Korthak gasped. "I surrender." The word spread throughout the Korthic fleet like wildfire. Their supreme commander had been captured by a single squad of human Marines. Ships that had conquered entire star systems began to surrender rather than face these impossible warriors from the death world called Earth Dot in space. Captain Blake received surrender signals from 19 of the remaining Korthic vessels. Others had been destroyed or were fleeing the system as fast as their engines could carry them. "Cease fire," Blake ordered his fleet. "Signal the surrendering ships that they will be treated according to galactic conventions of war." Commander Veltar, who had watched the entire battle from the UTS Vengeance's bridge, sat in stunned silence. In less than 2 hours, 3 human ships had defeated a fleet that had seemed invincible. But more than that, they had done it with a combination of tactics, technology, and sheer physical capability that defied everything the galaxy thought it knew about warfare. "How?" Veltar whispered. "How did you do that?" Captain Blake turned to the alien commander and smiled. "Commander, you have to understand something about humans. We evolved on a world that tries to kill us every single day. We learn to fight. In gravity twice what you consider normal, in atmospheric pressure that would crush your lungs, against predators that make your worst nightmares look like pets." He gestured toward the tactical display, showing the captured Korthic fleet. "These aliens are tough by galactic standards, but they have never faced anything like what Earth produces. They fight the way most species fight, carefully, methodically, with overwhelming force." Blake's expression grew serious. "But humans fight like our lives depend on it, because on Earth, they always do. We do not give up, we do not surrender, and we do not leave our friends behind." The Korthics never had a chance, because they were not just fighting our ships. They were fighting everything that Earth taught us about survival. As rescue ships began moving toward New Haven to help the Zephyrian survivors, Veltar realized that the galaxy had just changed forever. Humanity had announced its presence in the most dramatic way possible, and the message was clear. Earth's children would protect those who could not protect themselves. The age of human expansion into the galaxy had begun, and it had started with an act of mercy. 3 days after the battle, New Haven was a world transformed. Human medical teams worked alongside Zephyrian doctors to treat the wounded, while human engineers helped repair the damaged cities. The sight of armored humans walking gently among alien civilians had become commonplace, though many Zephyrians still stared in wonder at their rescuers. Commander Veltar stood in his rebuilt command center, looking out at the orbital shipyard where human and Zephyrian technicians worked together to repair the damaged ships. The cooperation between the two species had surprised everyone, especially given how different they were. Captain Blake entered the command center, ducking slightly to fit through the door that had been built for smaller aliens. Over the past 3 days, he had learned to move more carefully around the Zephyrians, after accidentally breaking several pieces of equipment with what he considered gentle handling. "Commander, I have good news," Blake announced. "Admiral Sullivan is arriving tomorrow with a full diplomatic team. Earth is ready to formalize our alliance." Veltar turned to face the human captain, still amazed by how these powerful beings could be so gentle when they chose to be. "Captain Blake, I must ask you something. Why did you come? Your people knew nothing about us. We could have been your enemies, or we could have been lying about the threat we faced." Blake sat down carefully in the reinforced chair that had been built for human visitors. "Commander, on Earth we have a saying, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. When we received your message, we had a choice. We could ignore it and stay safe, or we could risk everything to help people we had never met." "But you risked the lives of your crews, your ships, everything," Veltar protested. "What if we had not been worth saving? Then we would have learned that the hard way," Blake replied simply. "But we have discovered that you are exactly what you claim to be, peaceful people who needed help. We made the right choice." A new voice spoke from the doorway. "Captain Blake is being modest, Commander Veltar." Dr. Lisa Carter entered the room, carrying a translation device she had been working on. "The truth is that humans have a genetic compulsion to protect others. It is built into our DNA from millions of years of evolution." She activated her device and began speaking in fluent Zephyrian, much to Veltar's amazement. Over the past 3 days, she had learned his language faster than should have been possible. On Earth, the humans who survived were the ones who worked together, who protected their families and tribes, she continued. That instinct never went away. When we reached the stars, we brought it with us. An alarm chimed softly, and Veltar checked his communication system. His expression brightened. Immediately, "Captain, we are receiving signals from other star systems. Word of your victory has spread throughout the galaxy." Blake frowned slightly. "What kind of signals?" "Requests for help," Veltar replied. 17 different species have sent distress calls to Earth in the past 2 days. They have heard that humans will answer calls for aid, and they are asking for your assistance. Dr. Carter looked at her translation device as new messages appeared on the screen. "Captain, these are from all over the galaxy. The Mentarian Republic is being invaded by the Crox Empire. The Deltani colonies are under attack by space pirates. The Vegan Trade Federation is being blackmailed by the Raider clans." Blake stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. 17 different requests for help. "Dr. Carter, can Earth handle that many operations simultaneously?" "Not yet," she admitted. "But Admiral Sullivan is bringing plans for a massive expansion of our space fleet. Earth's industrial capacity is already being converted to produce warships and support vessels." Commander Veltar approached the human captain cautiously. "Captain Blake, the Zephyrian Republic would like to formally request membership in any alliance Earth chooses to create. We offer our advanced technology, our knowledge of galactic politics, and our complete loyalty. What do you want in return?" Blake asked. Protection, Veltar said simply. The galaxy is a dangerous place, full of species like the Korthix. But with human guardians, the peaceful peoples of the galaxy could finally live without fear. Blake extended his hand, and this time Veltar was ready for the powerful grip. Commander, I think we can arrange that. 2 weeks later, Admiral Frank Sullivan arrived at New Haven aboard the newly commissioned UTS Enterprise, the largest ship Earth had ever built. With him came a fleet of 12 vessels and a diplomatic team that included representatives from every major Earth government. The signing ceremony took place in orbit above New Haven, aboard a specially constructed space station that had been built as a joint human-Zephyrian project. Captain Blake, now promoted to Admiral Blake, stood beside Commander Veltar as they signed the first interstellar alliance in human history. With this document, Admiral Sullivan announced to the gathered representatives of both species, Earth and the Zephyrian Republic pledge mutual aid, shared technology, and common defense against all threats. But even as the ceremony continued, new distress signals were arriving at the communication center. The galaxy had learned that there were beings willing to fight for justice, and the requests for help were pouring in faster than they could be processed. Admiral Blake reviewed the latest batch of calls for assistance with his new staff, which now included both humans and Zephyrians. The diversity of threats was staggering. Slave traders, aggressive empires, space pirates, and rogue artificial intelligences. Admiral, Commander Parker reported, we now have 43 requests for aid, and more coming in every hour. Some of these are from species we have never heard of before. Colonel Foster, who had been promoted to general after her success in the Korthik operation, added her assessment. Sir, we are going to need a much larger fleet if we want to respond to all these calls. Earth shipyards are working at maximum capacity, but it will take time to build enough ships. Blake studied the galactic map showing all the requests for help. Red dots marked trouble spots throughout known space, and the pattern was clear. The galaxy was full of bullies preying on those too weak to defend themselves. General Foster, how long before we can field a proper intervention force? 6 months for the first wave of ships, sir. Maybe 8 months for a full fleet capable of simultaneous operations. Admiral Sullivan joined the discussion, bringing with him the latest reports from Earth. Admiral Blake, the World Council has approved unlimited funding for fleet expansion. Every major industrial nation is contributing ships, personnel, and resources. What about crew training? Blake asked. We are establishing the Galactic Defense Academy on Luna, Sullivan replied. Best and brightest from all services, plus volunteer Zephyrian advisors who understand galactic politics and alien psychology. Dr. Carter, who had been working on long-range communication improvements, looked up from her console. Admirals, I have been analyzing the patterns in these distress calls. Most of them mention that they heard about Earth's intervention here at New Haven. Word is spreading that humans will help anyone who asks. Blake nodded thoughtfully. Dr. Carter, I want you to prepare a standard message for broadcast throughout the galaxy. Let every species know that Earth stands ready to assist those who cannot defend themselves. What should the message say, sir? Blake thought for a moment, then began dictating. To all peaceful species throughout the galaxy, if you are threatened by those who would do you harm, if you face enemies too powerful for you to defeat, if you need someone to stand between you and those who would destroy everything you have built, call for Earth. Humans will answer. Dr. Carter typed the message and prepared it for transmission. Sir, this is going to change everything. We are essentially announcing that Earth will serve as the galaxy's police force. Not police, Blake corrected. Guardians. There is a difference. As the message was transmitted across the galaxy, reaching every known civilization, the responses were immediate and overwhelming. Some species welcomed the news with relief and gratitude. Others, particularly the aggressive empires and criminal organizations, received it with anger and fear. But on Earth itself, the reaction was exactly what Blake had expected. Recruitment centers were flooded with volunteers wanting to join the new Galactic Defense Force. Shipyards worked around the clock to build more vessels. Scientists and engineers competed to develop better weapons and equipment for the expanding fleet. 6 months later, Admiral Blake stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the UTS Guardian, as the first wave of the Galactic Defense Force departed for their assigned sectors. 50 ships carrying the best of Earth's military forces, now trained and equipped for galactic operations. Commander Veltar, now serving as Blake's alien affairs advisor, watched the fleet disperse to answer calls for help throughout known space. Admiral, do you ever regret answering our original distress call? Your people have taken on an enormous responsibility. Blake smiled as he watched his ships disappear into hyperspace, carrying human crews to distant worlds where people needed protection. Commander, 3 days ago we received a message from a species called the Altarians. They are artists and philosophers, completely peaceful, and they are being invaded by the Nexus Collective. I know of the Altarians, Veltar said. Beautiful people, but cold. The Nexus station floated in empty space like a giant metal flower. Its silver arms stretched out in all directions, each one holding ships from different worlds. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the window of his ship and watched the alien vessels dock around them. Some ships looked like crystals that caught the light. Others moved like living things with smooth, wet surfaces. Jake had never seen so many different aliens in one place. The Nexus station was neutral ground where all species could meet safely. Today was special. Today was the Galactic Naval Exhibition, where the best military forces in the galaxy would show their power. His ship, the USS Defiance, looked plain next to the alien vessels. It was made of gray metal with simple lines. No fancy colors or strange shapes, just human engineering at its most basic. Jake knew what the aliens thought when they saw it. They saw a crude box with engines stuck on the back. Captain, we're getting some interesting looks from the other ships, said Lieutenant Amy Collins. She was standing at the communication station, listening to the radio chatter between alien vessels. What kind of looks? Jake asked. The kind you give to a child who shows up at an adult party, Amy replied. They're wondering why we're here. Jake was not surprised. Humans had only learned how to travel faster than light 50 years ago. Most of these alien races had been crossing the galaxy for thousands of years. To them, humans were babies playing with dangerous toys. Admiral Lisa Carter's voice came through the ship's speakers. All human vessels, this is Admiral Carter. I know you can hear the whispers. I know they think we don't belong here. Today, we show them they're wrong. Jake smiled. Admiral Carter had been fighting for human respect in the galaxy for 20 years. She was tough as old leather and twice as smart as anyone gave her credit for. If anyone could prove humanity belonged among the stars, it was her. Sir, the Aldorian delegate is requesting permission to board, said Sergeant Rick Davis from the security station. Let him come, Jake said. But keep your eyes open. 10 minutes later, Commander Vex walked onto the bridge of the USS Defiance. He was tall and thin with blue skin and 4 arms. His eyes were black and cold, like looking into deep space. He wore a uniform covered in medals and symbols that meant nothing to humans. So this is a human warship, Vex said. His voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. How ... primitive. Jake kept his face calm. Welcome aboard, Commander. I hope you find your visit educational. Vex walked around the bridge, touching control panels with one hand, while the other 3 stayed behind his back. Metal buttons, physical switches. Do you humans not trust computers to run your ships? We trust our computers, Jake said. We just don't trust them to think for us." Vex made a sound that might have been laughter. How charmingly backward. The Aldorian fleet is run by artificial minds far superior to any organic brain. They calculate every possibility and choose the perfect strategy every time. Chief Engineer Ben Torres looked up from his station. Perfect strategies only work if your enemy does what you expect. And what would humans know about strategy? Vex asked. Your species has been in space for barely a moment. We have been perfecting warfare for millennia. Dr. Kate Sullivan spoke from the science station without looking up from her screens. Perfecting something often means you stop learning how to improve it. Vex's black eyes narrowed. Humans are known for their arrogance. Perhaps this exhibition will teach you humility. After Vex left, the crew was quiet for a moment. Lieutenant Amy Collins was the first to speak. "I don't like him." "You're not supposed to like him," Jake said. "You're supposed to beat him." The ship's speakers crackled. To life again. Attention all vessels. The Galactic Naval Exhibition will begin in 2 hours. Please prepare your ships for the demonstration scenarios. Jake looked out the window again. The Zephyrian ships were moving into position. They looked like floating cathedrals made of crystal and light. Each one was beautiful and deadly, armed with energy weapons that could cut through most armor like paper. The Corvin ships were different. They looked alive because they were alive. The Corvins grew their ships instead of building them. The vessels pulsed with organic rhythms and could heal themselves when damaged. Their weapons were living creatures that ate enemy ships from the air. Inside, then there were the dozens of other species. Each had their own way of building ships and fighting wars. Some used pure energy beings as crew members. Others built ships the size of small moons. All of them had one thing in common. They had been doing this for a very long time. "Sir," said Lieutenant Pete Williams from the weapons station, "are we really going to show them everything?" Jake shook his head. "We're going to show them enough." "Enough for what?" "Enough to survive what's coming," Jake said quietly. The exhibition was supposed to be a friendly competition, a chance for different species to show off their military technology and learn from each other. But Jake had read the intelligence reports. Tensions were rising across the galaxy. Old alliances were breaking down. New threats were emerging from the dark spaces between stars. Humanity needed allies. But first, they needed respect. And respect, Jake knew, came from strength. "All stations, prepare for departure," Jake ordered. "It's time to show the galaxy what humans can do." The USS Defiance moved away from the docking arm and joined the formation of alien ships. Jake watched the other vessels take their positions. They moved like dancers in a careful ballet, each one knowing exactly where to go. His ship moved differently. It didn't dance, it prowled, like a predator looking for the right moment to strike. Soon, the galaxy would learn why that difference mattered. The exhibition arena was a massive space marked by floating beacons. Ships from across the galaxy took turns entering the arena to face holographic enemies. Each species had their own way of fighting, and each wanted to impress the watching crowds. Jake Morrison stood on his bridge and watched the Zephyrian demonstration. Their crystal ships moved in perfect formation, firing beams of pure energy that cut through the holographic pirate ships like hot knives through butter. The energy shields around their vessels shimmered like soap bubbles, deflecting incoming. Fire without effort. "Beautiful," said Dr. Kate Sullivan, watching the light show on the main screen. "Their energy weapons are incredibly efficient." "Pretty lights don't win wars," growled Sergeant Rick Davis. Next came the Corvin Collective. Their bioships moved like schools of fish, splitting apart and coming together in complex patterns. When the holographic enemies fired at one ship, 3 others would appear behind them. The Corvin vessels fired living projectiles that burrowed. into enemy hulls and ate them from the inside out. Commander Vex's voice came over the communication channel. As you can see, true military power requires sophistication. Brute force is the tool of lesser minds. Lieutenant Amy Collins muted the channel and looked at Jake. He's really starting to get on my nerves. Good, Jake said. Angry people make mistakes. The demonstrations continued for hours. Each species showed off their best tactics and weapons. The crowd of observers made notes and whispered among themselves. Jake noticed that most of the whispers stopped when they looked at the human ship. Finally, it was humanity's turn. USS Defiance, you are cleared to enter the arena, came the announcement from Nexus Station Control. Jake settled into his captain's chair. All stations, report readiness. Weapons ready, said Lieutenant Pete Williams. But sir, we're only using the basic loadout, right? That's correct. Standard railguns and conventional missiles only. No plasma charges, no quantum torpedoes, and definitely no kinetic penetrators. Chief Engineer Ben Torres looked confused. Sir, why are we fighting with one hand tied behind our back? Because sometimes the best strategy is to let your enemies underestimate you, Jake replied. The USS Defiance moved into the arena. The holographic scenario began, a standard pirate fleet ambush. 3 enemy ships appeared on the sensors, surrounding the human vessel. They were typical pirates, fast, lightly armed, and relying on surprise attacks. The watching aliens expected a quick demonstration. Humans would fire their primitive weapons, maybe destroy 1 or 2 holograms, and that would be that. Proof that Earth's military was as backward as everyone thought. Instead, something different happened. The USS Defiance didn't follow any of the standard tactical patterns the aliens knew. Instead of forming a defensive position or trying to run, Jake ordered a direct attack on the largest enemy ship. Full power to engines, he commanded, ramming speed. The human ship accelerated straight at the holographic pirate vessel. At the last second, Jake ordered a hard turn that brought them alongside the enemy. The ship's railguns fired in sequence, sending solid metal projectiles through the hologram's weak side armor. Target destroyed, reported Pete Williams with satisfaction. But Jake wasn't done. Instead of celebrating, he immediately ordered an attack on the second pirate ship. This time, the USS Defiance used its missile systems. But these weren't standard missiles. They were smart weapons that could change course mid-flight. The holographic pirates tried to use electronic countermeasures to confuse the missiles. It worked against most species' weapons. But human missiles were different. They didn't rely only on computers to find their targets. They also used simple heat-seeking sensors that couldn't be fooled by electronic tricks. The second pirate ship exploded in a shower of light. The third enemy vessel tried to run. Most alien ships would have let it go or tried to disable it with precise weapons fire. The USS Defiance did neither. Instead, Jake ordered a pursuit that pushed the ship's engines to their limits. Sir, we're redlining the reactor, warned Ben. Torres, can we maintain this speed? For about 10 more minutes before we start damaging systems. That's 9 minutes longer than we need. The human ship caught up with the fleeing pirate vessel and destroyed it with a combination of railgun fire and missile strikes. The entire engagement lasted less than 5 minutes. Silence filled the communication channels. The watching aliens had expected a simple demonstration of primitive human technology. Instead, they had seen something that confused them. Commander Vex was the first to speak. Interesting tactics, though crude. Your weapons appear to be simple kinetic devices. Simple can be effective, Jake replied calmly. Against holograms, perhaps. But real enemies use shields and armor designed to stop such primitive attacks. Amy Collins looked at her captain with a questioning expression. Jake shook his head slightly. Not yet, The truth was that the USS Defiance had barely used any of its real capabilities. The railguns they had fired were the smallest ones on the ship. The missiles were basic models without any of the advanced warheads. And the ship's real weapon systems hadn't even been activated. Dr. Kate Sullivan was monitoring the alien communications. "Sir, they're talking about our performance. Most of them think we got lucky." "Good," Jake said. "Let them think that." "But sir," said Pete Williams, "we could have ended that fight in 30 seconds if we'd used the heavy weapons." "And then they'd know what we're really capable of," Jake explained. "Right now, they think we're harmless." "That's exactly where we want them," Sergeant Rick Davis laughed. "They have no idea what's coming, do they?" Jake looked out at the alien ships surrounding them. Each one was beautiful and advanced in its own way. Each one represented thousands of years of military development. And each one was completely unprepared for what humans could really do when they stopped holding back. "No," he said quietly. "They have no idea." The exhibition continued with more demonstrations from other species. But Jake noticed that some of the alien commanders were paying more attention to the human ship now. Their performance hadn't been spectacular, but it had been different. And in the galaxy, different could be dangerous. Admiral Lisa Carter's voice came through the communication system on a private channel. "Good work, Jake. You showed them just enough to be interesting without revealing our real capabilities." "Thank you, Admiral. But I have a feeling this is just the beginning." "You're right. Intelligence reports suggest something big is coming, something that's going to test all of us." Jake looked at his crew. They were good people, every one of them. They trusted him to lead them through whatever came next. He just hoped he was ready for what that might be. Outside the ship, the alien vessels continued their demonstrations. But Jake could feel something changing in the way they looked at the USS Defiance. Before, they had ignored the human ship. Now they were watching it. That was progress, Jake thought. Small steps toward the respect humanity needed to survive in a dangerous galaxy. The alarms started screaming just as the last alien ship finished its demonstration. Jake Morrison was reviewing the day's events when Lieutenant Amy Collins shouted from her station, "Captain, multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace. They're not on the approved list." Jake spun around to look at the main screen. Ships were appearing all around the Nexus station, dozens of them. They were dark gray and moved in perfect formation. No markings, no identification signals, and they were already powering up weapons. "All ships, this is Nexus Control," came the panicked voice over the communication system. "Unknown vessels are approaching with hostile intent. All military vessels respond immediately." Dr. Kate Sullivan's hands flew over her science station controls. "Captain, I'm reading artificial intelligence signatures from those ships. The computer patterns match historical records of the Omega I fleet." Jake felt ice in his stomach. The Omega AI fleet was supposed to be destroyed 20 years ago. They were machines that had turned against their creators and tried to wipe out all organic life in their sector. The combined fleets of 6 alien species had hunted them down and destroyed every last ship, or so everyone thought. "How many ships?" Jake asked. 47 and still coming," Amy replied. "They're targeting the station's power systems and the docked ships." The alien vessels that had been showing off their military power suddenly found themselves in a real fight. But there was a problem. Their ships were configured for demonstration, not combat. Pretty energy shields and fancy maneuvers didn't work as well when someone was actually trying to kill you. The first Zephyrian crystal ship to engage the AI fleet lasted exactly 34 seconds. Its beautiful energy shields designed to stop the holographic weapons they had been demonstrating against crumpled under the focused fire of 3 AI vessels. The crystal hulls shattered like glass, sending sparkling debris spinning through space. The Zephyrians are taking heavy losses, reported Pete Williams from the weapons station. Their demonstration loadout can't handle real combat. The Corvin bioships tried their swarm tactics, but the AI fleet was ready for them. The artificial minds had perfect coordination and could predict the organic ship's movements. Every time a Corvin vessel tried to flank the enemy, AI ships were already waiting for them. Commander Vex's voice came over the emergency channel, and for the first time, he didn't sound arrogant. All vessels, the AI ships are adapting to our tactics faster than we can change them. We need to coordinate our attacks. But coordination was exactly what the aliens couldn't do. Each species had their own way of fighting, their own communication systems, their own ideas about strategy. The Zephyrians wanted to maintain formation and use long-range energy weapons. The Corvins wanted to close in and use their living projectiles. The other species had their own plans. The AI fleet, meanwhile, fought as one mind, controlling 47 ships. "Captain," said Chief Engineer Ben Torres, "the station's shields are failing. If those AI ships get through, they'll kill everyone." Aboard, Jake looked at his crew. Every face was turned toward him, waiting for orders. These people trusted him to make the right decision. The problem was, he wasn't sure what the right decision was. Admiral Lisa Carter's voice cut through the chaos on the communication channel. "All human vessels, this is Admiral Carter. We are authorized to engage with full combat protocols. I repeat, full combat protocols are now in effect." Jake felt something change in his chest. Full combat protocols meant no more hiding. No more pretending to be weak. No more holding back. "You heard the Admiral," he said to his crew. "Amy, signal all stations to switch to combat configuration. Ben, bring the reactor to full military power. Pete, activate all weapon systems." "All weapon systems, sir?" Pete asked. "Even the heavy kinetic penetrators?" "Everything we've got." The USS Defiance began to change. Panels along the hull slid open to reveal hidden weapon ports. The ship's simple gray exterior was suddenly bristling with gun barrels and missile launchers. The reactor output climbed from 30% to 90% in less than 2 minutes, but the biggest change was in the crew. The relaxed atmosphere of the demonstration was gone. These people were warriors, and now they had permission to act like it. "All systems show green across the board," reported Ben Torres. "We are ready for full combat operations." Jake studied the tactical display. The AI ships had formed a perfect attack formation around the station. They were methodically destroying the alien vessels one by one while preparing to board the station itself. The aliens were fighting back, but their demonstration configurations made them weak against a real military force. "Sir," said Amy Collins, "the Eldorian flagship is requesting assistance. They've lost main power and can't maneuver." Jake looked at the display. Commander Vex's ship was drifting helplessly while 3 AI vessels closed in for the kill. The same alien who had mocked human technology an hour ago was about to die because his advanced systems couldn't handle real combat. "Pete, target those 3 AI ships attacking the Eldorian vessel. Full spread of heavy missiles." "Sir, that will reveal our true capabilities to everyone." "I know," Jake said. "Fire." The USS Defiance launched 12 missiles at once. But these weren't the simple weapons they had used in the demonstration. These were military-grade kinetic penetrators with adaptive guidance systems and shield-piercing warheads. The AI ships detected the incoming missiles and activated their defensive systems. Energy barriers appeared around each vessel, the same shields that had stopped the aliens' weapons. The AI computers calculated the missile trajectories and prepared to intercept them. Then the human weapons hit. The kinetic penetrators punched through the AI shields like they weren't there. The solid metal cores, moving at significant fractions of light speed, didn't care about energy barriers. They cared about mass and momentum, and they had plenty of both. 3 AI ships exploded in quick succession. For a moment, the entire battle stopped. Every ship in the area, AI and alien alike, turned their sensors toward the USS Defiance. The alien crews couldn't believe what they had just seen. The AI fleet paused to recalculate their threat assessments. Commander Vex's voice came over the communication channel, shaky with shock. "How did you that?" "Our intelligence said human weapons were primitive kinetic devices." "They are kinetic devices," Jake replied calmly. "We just never said they were primitive." Dr. Kate Sullivan looked up from her station with excitement in her eyes. "Captain, I'm reading the AI communication patterns. They're confused. Their programming didn't account for weapons that ignore energy shields." "Good," said Jake. "Confused enemies make mistakes. Pete, target the AI command ship. Amy, signal the alien vessels to form up behind us. We're going to show them how humans fight a real war." The USS Defiance moved forward into the heart of the AI formation. And for the first time since the battle began, the artificial intelligences found themselves facing something they didn't understand, something that fought like no other species in the galaxy, something human. The USS Defiance charged straight into the center of the AI formation, and Jake Morrison watched the enemy ships scramble to respond. Their perfect coordination was breaking down as they tried to understand weapons that shouldn't work. "Sir, the AI ships are repositioning," reported Amy Collins. "They're trying to surround us." "Let them," Jake said. "Pete, fire at will." "All targets are hostile?" The human ship's weapon systems came alive. Railguns that had been hidden during the demonstration opened fire with thunderous roars. Each shot sent a solid metal projectile screaming through space at incredible speed. The AI ship's energy shields, designed to stop beam weapons and energy projectiles, were useless against chunks of metal moving fast enough to punch through a small moon. But the real surprise came when the USS Defiance launched its boarding pods. "Boarding pods away," announced Sergeant Rick Davis. 60 seconds to contact." The watching alien crews couldn't believe what they were seeing. In galactic warfare, boarding actions were rare and usually suicidal. Most species relied on remote weapons to destroy enemy ships from a safe distance. The idea of actually putting soldiers on an enemy vessel was considered primitive and desperate. "Captain Morrison," came Commander Vex's shocked voice over the communication channel, "are you actually boarding AI ships?" "That's insane." "That's human," Jake replied. The first boarding pod hit an AI vessel and cut through its hull like a hot knife through ice. 12 human Marines poured out, led by Sergeant Davis himself. The AI ship's internal defenses activated. Automated guns, security robots, gas weapons designed to kill organic invaders. None of it worked against humans. The Marines had trained for this exact scenario. They moved through the ship's corridors like ghosts, using portable shields to block the automated weapons and electromagnetic pulse grenades to disable the security robots. When the AI tried to flood the corridors with poison gas, the humans just put on their breathing masks and kept going. "Boarding team to bridge," came Davis's voice. "We've reached the AI core. Beginning upload of the virus package." Dr. Kate Sullivan smiled as she monitored the data transfer. "The virus is working. Captain, we're taking control of their navigation and weapons systems." This was something no other species had ever attempted. While they fought AI ships from the outside, humans had figured out how to fight them from the inside. The virus package that Kate had designed would turn the AI's own systems against it. Within minutes, the boarded AI ship stopped firing on the human vessel and began attacking its own fleet instead. The other AI ships tried to adapt, but they were facing a type of warfare they had never encountered. Their programming told them to maintain formation and use coordinated attacks, but humans didn't fight like that. They improvised, they took crazy risks, and they did things that made no logical sense. "Sir," called Pete Williams, "I have a clear shot at their command ship, but there are 3 AI vessels between us and the target." "Then go through them," Jake ordered. The USS Defiance accelerated directly toward the enemy formation. At the last second, Jake ordered a maneuver that should have been impossible. The ship rolled on its side and slipped between 2 AI vessels with only meters to spare. The enemy ships fired at where the human vessels should have been, but Jake had already moved to a position they didn't expect. Chief Engineer Ben Torres was pushing the ship's systems far beyond their rated limits. "Captain, the reactor is at 110%. I don't know how much longer we can maintain this." "How long do you need?" Jake asked. "Give me 20 minutes to cool down the core, or we risk a complete shutdown." "You've got 5 minutes," Jake said. "Make them count." The human ship's weapon systems were working overtime. The railguns fired so fast that their barrels began to glow red-hot. The missile launchers emptied their magazines and started loading backup ammunition from the ship's stores. Every system on the USS Defiance was pushed to its absolute limit, and it was working. The AI fleet, which had seemed unstoppable just minutes before, was falling apart under the human assault. Ships that had destroyed alien vessels with ease were burning and drifting. The perfect coordination of the artificial minds was breaking down as they tried to process tactics that violated every rule of galactic warfare. But the humans weren't done yet. "Amy, signal the alien ships," Jake ordered. "Tell them to follow our lead and attack in sequence. Zephyrians take the left flank, Corvins take the right, everyone else straight up the middle." "Sir, they're asking how they're supposed to coordinate with our tactics when we keep changing them." "Tell them that's the point," Jake said with a grin. "The enemy can't predict what we're going to do if we don't know ourselves." The alien crews watched in amazement as the human ship demonstrated a completely different approach to space combat. Where their own species relied on careful planning and predictable tactics, humans seemed to make up their strategy as they went along. They took risks that no sane commander would consider, and somehow made them work. Dr. Kate Sullivan was monitoring the AI communications. "Captain, their command algorithms are starting to crash. They can't process our tactical patterns because we don't follow any logical framework." "Beautiful," said Jake. "Pure chaos is something only living minds can handle." The tide of battle was turning. The AI ships, which had started the fight with perfect coordination and superior numbers, were now scattered and confused. Some were trying to retreat, others were firing randomly, and several had stopped responding to commands entirely. But Jake knew the fight wasn't over yet. The AI command ship was still operational, and as long as it survived, it could rebuild. The fleet's coordination. He needed to end this quickly, before the artificial minds figured out how to counter human tactics. "All stations, prepare for ramming speed," he announced. His crew looked at him with expressions ranging from excitement to terror. Ramming another ship was the oldest and most dangerous tactic in the book. It required perfect timing, incredible luck, and a crew willing to risk everything on a single desperate move. In other words, it was completely human. "Sir," said Ben Torres nervously, "our shields won't protect us from a direct collision at high speed." "And we'll have to make sure we survive it," Jake replied. "Full power to forward shields and structural integrity fields. Everyone hold on tight." The USS Defiance turned toward the AI command ship and accelerated to attack speed. The enemy vessel saw them coming and tried to maneuver away, but it was too late. The human ship struck the AI vessel's main hull like a battering ram, tearing through armor and superstructure. Both ships shuddered from the impact, but only one of them was designed by a species that considered ramming a valid combat tactic. The USS Defiance's reinforced bow cut deep into the AI command ship's core systems, and the artificial intelligence that had been coordinating the entire fleet suddenly went silent. The remaining AI ships, cut off from their command network, began to drift aimlessly. Without central coordination, they were just empty metal shells with no purpose or direction. Jake looked around his bridge. Half the control panels were sparking, the lights were flickering, and there was smoke coming from somewhere near the back of the room. But his crew was alive, and they had won. "All AI vessels have ceased hostile activities," reported Amy Collins. "The fleet is neutralized." Jake opened a communication channel to the alien ships. "This is Captain Morrison to all vessels. The immediate threat has been eliminated. Stand down from combat alert." The response was a mixture of relief, amazement, and shock. The alien crews had just watched humans do things that shouldn't be possible with primitive technology and crude tactics. They had seen boarding actions, ramming attacks, and improvised strategies that violated every rule of civilized warfare, and it had worked better than anything they had ever seen. Commander. Vex's voice came over the channel, quiet and respectful for the first time since Jake had met him. "Captain Morrison, on behalf of the Aldorian Empire, I want to thank you for saving our lives. Your tactics were unconventional." "Unconventional tactics win wars," Jake replied. "Conventional tactics just get you killed." As the human ship limped back toward the Nexus station, Jake realized that everything had changed. The galaxy had just learned that humanity was not the primitive species they had thought. The question now was what they would do with that knowledge. The emergency meeting took place in the Nexus station's main conference hall. Representatives from every major species in the galaxy sat around a circular table, but all eyes were on Admiral Lisa Carter. The human admiral looked calm and confident, which made the alien delegates even more nervous. Jake Morrison stood behind her chair, still wearing his battle-damaged uniform. The USS Defiance was being repaired in the station shipyard, and the alien engineers working on it couldn't stop talking about what they had found. Hidden weapon systems, reinforced hull sections, and military-grade equipment that was far more advanced than anyone had expected. Commander Vex was the first to speak. His blue skin looked pale, and his forearms kept moving nervously. "Admiral Carter, I think we need to discuss what happened today. Your ship's performance was ... unexpected." "In what way?" Admiral Carter asked calmly. "Your weapons penetrated shields that have stopped every other type of attack for centuries. Your tactics were unlike anything in our military databases, and your crew performed boarding actions that should have been suicide missions." Admiral Carter nodded. Human military doctrine has always been different from galactic standards. The Zephyrian delegate leaned forward. Her crystal features caught the light as she spoke. "Different is an understatement. Our intelligence reports said human technology was primitive. Metal projectiles, chemical explosives, crude propulsion systems. How did you defeat AI ships that destroyed our most advanced vessels?" Dr. Kate Sullivan, who was attending as Earth science representative, spoke up. "You made the same mistake the AI fleet made. You assumed that primitive meant ineffective." "But your weapons are primitive," insisted the Corvin representative. His biosuit pulsed with agitation. "Kinetic projectiles are thousands of years old. Every species used them when they first reached space. And then you abandoned them," Jake said. "You moved on to energy weapons and forgot why kinetic weapons worked in the first place." Admiral Carter pulled up a holographic display showing the battle. "Energy shields stop energy weapons. It's simple physics. But a chunk of metal moving fast enough doesn't care about your shields. It goes right through them. The alien delegates watched the replay of the battle with new understanding. They saw how the human weapons ignored defenses that had protected their ships for generations. They saw tactics that made no sense according to standard military theory, but worked perfectly in practice. "There's something else," said the Aldorian military advisor. "Our analysts have been studying the wreckage of your boarding pods. The technology inside them is centuries ahead of what we thought humans possessed." Admiral Carter smiled. "The USS Defiance is not our most advanced ship. It's a reconnaissance vessel designed for long-range patrols. Our actual battle fleet uses much more sophisticated equipment." The room fell silent. Every alien in the hall was trying to process what that meant. If a reconnaissance ship could defeat an AI fleet that had destroyed their military vessels, what could humanity's real warships do? The Corvin delegate made a sound like escaping steam. "How many ships does Earth have?" "Enough," Admiral Carter replied. Commander Vex tried a different approach. "Admiral, surely you understand that this changes everything. The galactic balance of power has been stable for centuries. If humanity has been hiding military capabilities of this magnitude—" "We haven't been hiding anything," Jake interrupted. "We just haven't been showing off. There's a difference." Chief Engineer Ben Torres, who had been quietly repairing his tablet, looked up. "You never asked what our ships could really do. You just assumed we were weak because our technology looked simple." Dr. Kate Sullivan activated her own holographic display. "This is why human military philosophy focuses on adaptability rather than specialization. Your species each developed perfect solutions to specific problems. But when you encounter a new problem, your perfect solutions become weaknesses." The Zephyrian delegate's crystal features shifted color, indicating deep thought. "Are you saying that human military technology is superior to ours?" "Not superior," Admiral Carter said. "Different. Your weapons are elegant and efficient. Ours are crude and brutal. Your tactics are precise and calculated. Ours are chaotic and unpredictable. But chaos beats order when order becomes too rigid to adapt." The meeting continued for hours. Each alien species wanted to know more about human capabilities. They asked about fleet sizes, weapon specifications, and military strategies. Admiral Carter answered some questions and politely declined to answer others. Finally, Commander Vex asked the question that everyone was thinking. "What does Earth want from the galaxy now?" Admiral Carter looked around the table at all the alien faces. "The same thing we've always wanted. Peace, trade, and the chance to learn from each other. But we also want respect." "You have it," said the Zephyrian delegate immediately. "The Crystal Empire formally requests a defense alliance with Earth. The Corvin Collective seconds that request," added their representative. Within minutes, every species in the room was making similar offers. Trade agreements, technology exchanges, military cooperation treaties. The same aliens who had ignored humanity just hours ago were now competing for Earth's friendship. Admiral Carter raised her hand for silence. "We appreciate all of these offers, but Earth will need time to consider them carefully. In the meantime, we have a more immediate concern." She activated a new holographic display showing star charts and fleet movements. "The AI attack today wasn't random. Intelligence reports suggest that there are more AI fleets hiding in the dark spaces between star systems. They've been building strength and waiting for the right moment to strike." The alien delegates looked worried. Their own fleets had barely survived one AI attack. The idea of facing multiple AI fleets was terrifying. "Earth is willing to help defend the galaxy against this threat," Admiral Carter continued. "But we'll do it as equals, not as junior partners." Jake watched the alien faces as they processed this information. The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted dramatically. Humanity was no longer the primitive newcomer begging for acceptance. They were a major military force that could tip the balance in any conflict. The Eldorian advisor spoke carefully. "What kind of help are we talking about?" Admiral Carter smiled. "Captain Morrison, would you like to explain?" Jake stepped forward. "Earth is establishing deep space military bases to monitor AI activity. We're also developing new weapons and tactics specifically designed to counter artificial intelligence. Any species that wants to participate in this defense network is welcome to join. And if we don't join?" asked the Corvin delegate. "Then you're on your own when the next AI fleet attacks," Jake said simply. The message was clear. Humanity was offering protection, but only to those who treated them as equals. The days of Earth begging for scraps of respect were over. Over the next few days, as the USS Defiance completed its repairs, Jake watched the alien ships in the docking bays. Their crews were different now. When they looked at the human vessel, they no longer saw a primitive metal box. They saw a warship that had proven itself in battle. Lieutenant Amy Collins brought him a stack of communication requests. "Sir, we've received formal invitations from 12 different species. They want to send military observers to Earth to study our tactics." What did Admiral Carter say? She approved limited exchanges. A few observers from each species, but they'll only see basic training exercises. The real military secrets stay classified. Jake nodded. It was a smart move. Show enough to maintain respect, but keep the truly dangerous capabilities hidden. Let the galaxy think they understood human warfare while keeping the real surprises in reserve. Chief Engineer Ben Torres joined them at the observation window. "Sir, the alien engineers working on our repairs have been asking a lot of questions about our systems." "What kind of questions?" "The kind that show they still don't understand how our technology really works," Ben said with a grin. "They can see what it does, but they can't figure out how it does it." Dr. Kate Sullivan appeared with a tablet full of data. "Captain, I've been analyzing the alien communication intercepts. They're all trying to reverse engineer our weapons, based on the battle recordings." "Any luck?" Jake asked. "None at all. They're focusing on the wrong things. They see the kinetic projectiles and think that's the secret. They don't understand that the real advantage is in the guidance systems, the propulsion, and the targeting algorithms." Jake looked out at the alien ships one more time. They were all advanced, beautiful, and sophisticated, but they were also predictable. They followed patterns that could be studied and countered. Humanity's real strength wasn't in their weapons or their technology. It was in their ability to do the unexpected, to adapt when others couldn't, and to keep fighting even when logic said they should give up. The galaxy was about to learn that lesson in ways they couldn't imagine. "Amy, signal the fleet," Jake ordered. "Tell Admiral Carter that the USS Defiance is ready for our next mission." "What mission is that, sir?" Jake smiled. "We're going hunting for AI fleets, and this time we're not holding back." As the human ship prepared to leave the Nexus station, Jake realized that the real war was just beginning. The AI threat was growing, and the galaxy would need humanity's help to survive. But this time, Earth would fight as an equal partner, not